The new year is finally upon us, and it's often a good time to check over your tractor regarding to its servicing. A normal service consists of just your engine, oil, fuel and air, which is quite simple, and many farmers don't do it themselves but possibly could. The purpose of this video is just to go through kind of the do's and don'ts and a basic guide of how to do it. The tractor we're going to use is a Ford 87, but the principle, regardless of the tractor, is the same. We're going to fit the main pre-filter, which filters out the heavier debris. Inside that then we have a pre-filter, which screens out the finer particles, engine oil filter, and finally fuel filter. The very first step is to remove the old oil. This is done by opening the bung screw on the bottom of the sump, which is the lowest point of the engine. It's a good idea at this point then to get a large bucket capable of holding the amount of oil that's in the engine underneath to catch it, to stop any mess or possible environmental contaminations. Before draining the oil, the engine should be heated up to optimum temperature in order to increase its viscosity so it flows better and gets all the oil out of the engine. While you're waiting for the oil to drain, it's a good time to change the oil filter. Over time, the heat from the engine can make these filters stubborn to move by hand. In that case, use a filter strap or the equivalent, such as this vice grips chain, in order to get more leverage. You just simply clamp around it into one of the grooves, close the vice grips, and it gives you more leverage to open your filter. Once it's loose enough, then simply detach it and screw off the filter by hand. Take care that oil is going to leak because the filter is full of oil, so take care to where it's going to fall down into the bucket and not into the ground. Like so. It's important to dispose of the filters correctly and recycle them where it's available. Once the old filter is removed, it's time to fit the new one. First and most importantly is make sure the surface is clean, and get a little bit of oil and just smear it along the rubber seal, which provides a better seal when attached, limiting the possibilities of any leaks. So once that's done, it's simply a matter of screwing it back on, taking care to get it on the right thread, and only tighten it by hand. Do not use the filter strap or chain at this stage, just tighten it as tight as you can by hand. It's often a good idea to write the date and engine hours onto the filter to keep a track of your service schedule. The next stop on the filter list is the fuel filters. On this tractor, it consists of a sediment bowl which displaces the water, removes the water and the heavy dirt that finds its way into the fuel system, and a final filter. Some tractors have a combination of a sediment bowl, a pre-filter and a final filter. The difference between a pre-filter and final filter is the grade of mesh in it, which filters out smaller and bigger impurities. So in this case, it's only a matter of loosening these bolts and the whole lot should come down. Take care again to have some way of catching the diesel. Clean out the sediment bowl, and in this case remove this and replace it with a new filter. Next thing, bring it to the bench and give it a thorough clean out. In the bottom of this one there's dirt sitting in it, so with a clean rag, take care not to lose the rubber rings and seals. Clean out all the dirt out of it. Clean the ledge where the seal sits in order that it seats properly. If the filter comes with a new seal, use that. If not, inspect the old one for any signs of deterioration or cracks. Give it a good clean. Refit it back in carefully, making sure that it seats in properly. And finally, refit the filter on top. That's that one. With the sediment bowl, the same principle applies. As you can see, it's quite dirty, so it needs a thorough clean. Now the fuel filters are replaced. It's a matter of opening the bleed screw here on top and pumping the diesel with the lift pump here by this handle. Some machines have an electric lift pump. I turn on the ignition. This one in particular has the manual version. It's important to make sure that there's enough fuel in the tank to pump, or you'll be getting air up into the system. Once the air is removed out of the system, close the bleed screw, it should fire up. Next step, remove the old air filter. In this case, it's a matter of taking off the side panel, loosening the wing nut, like so. Some other manufacturers have different systems, different types of systems, but the principle is the very same. Once the wing nut is removed, it's just a matter of pulling out the old one, like so, which as you can see, is quite dirty. Once that's out, it's a matter of removing the inner one then. Once the old filters are removed, it's only a matter of sticking in the new inner filter. And finally, the bigger outer filter. It's a good idea to clean out the air chamber with an air line before refitting the new ones. By this stage, the engine oil should be well and truly drained, so it's a matter of replacing the oil bung, making sure that the threads are good and that the copper washer or seal on it is in place in good condition. So simply screw it back in. And tighten it off. Next step, fill it with oil. One of the most important things to do when you're servicing your tractor is make sure that the grade of oil you're putting back in is correct. In this instance, we're using 15W40. The 15 stands for the viscosity at winter, at cold starting, and the 40 is viscosity at 100 degrees Celsius. It's important to make sure that the oil is correct for the use. This case is a diesel engine oil. Different manufacturers use different grades and they have different service schedules on the engine, so it's important to check in the operator's manual or with your local dealer to make sure you're using the correct oil. Finally, it's a matter of filling it back up with oil. Important to check that your oil measure is clean of dirt and dust. It's a good idea to take into account the amount of oil that comes out, so it'll give you an indication of how much to go back in. It's often a good idea to give your tractor to check over in regards to wind wipers, lights and grease points at this stage as well while you are carrying out the service. As you near completion of filling the oil, it's a good idea to check, dip it and see whereabouts it is on the dipstick. Once it hits the mark, replace the dipstick, run the engine for 30 seconds, switch off again and then top up as necessary. So that's it. Small bit of elbow grease, a little bit of time and she's serviced. Took basic tools and basic know-how to do it. It's something that many farmers can do themselves. A couple of things to note. It's important to use the correct grade of oil. Different machines use different grades, so check with the operator's manual or your local dealer. Again, service schedule, keep a track of the hours that are on it now after being serviced, and that'll let you know when it has to be serviced again. Different machines have different service schedules, so it's important again to check with your operator's manual or your local dealer to what's applicable to your machine. When replacing all the filters, it's important to check that all the seals are in good condition, not cracked or broken, and seating correctly. That'll stop any leaks down the line. Good practice is, while you're taking the time to have it in the workshop and servicing it, give the machine a once over. Check the lights, check the grease points, check the hinge points. Give it a basic once over for safety and mechanical maintenance. It'll make your life a lot easier down the road. And with that, that's it.